In this lesson, we are going to learn how to solve a quadratic equation algebraically. And specifically, we are going to be using factoring and what is called the zero product property. So exact solutions or roots of quadratic equations can be found using factoring and the zero product property. You will learn 3 algebraic methods used to solve quadratic equations. The first is factoring in the zero product property. The second is completing the square. And the third is the quadratic formula. We will not be learning the last 2 methods during this lesson. So what is the zero product property? Zero product property says if the product of 2 numbers is equal to 0, then each individual factor can equal 0. Please note, your equation must equal 0 if you are using the zero product property. So from this first example, we can see that we are multiplying 2 factors, w plus 13 and w minus 9, and those 2 factors equal 0. Because of the zero product property, we know that our first factor, w plus 13, can equal 0. We also know that our second factor, w minus 9, can equal 0. Therefore, we are going to find 2 solutions to this equation. I will solve by subtracting 13. So my first solution is w equals negative 13. And for my second solution, I'll add 9. And my second solution is w equals 9. So this equation had 2 solutions, negative 13 and 9. So we're going to keep our focus on the zero product property. We're not going to worry about the factoring part yet. In this first example, we have 2 factors, 4y plus 8 and 3y minus 4. So because those 2 factors are equal to 0, we know that each factor can equal 0. So 4y plus 8 can equal 0. And 3y minus 4 can equal 0. We will solve each of these equations. For our first equation, we start by subtracting 8 from each side. So we have 4y equals negative 8, and then we want to divide each side by 4. So our first solution is y equals negative 2. For our second equation, to solve, we would add 4 to each side. So we have 3y is equal to 4, and then divide by 3. So y would equal 4 thirds. Okay, please keep in mind that if your solution is not exact, you need to write your answer as a fraction. Do not round any of your answers. In this case, or you could use 2 1/2 the mixed number as your third solution. All right, so we know how to use the zero product property. Let's throw in some factoring, okay? Because the problems that you're given are not just going to be given to you in factored form. You are going to have to factor your polynomial in order to use your zero product property. So we're going to start with 2 examples that require we factor out just the GCF. So if I look over here at example 3, we will notice that the GCF of these 2 terms is p. They each have the variable p. So I will factor out the GCF of p, leaving me with the expression p minus 5. Notice my equation equals 0. That is a requirement for zero product property. So we have 2 factors, p and p minus 5, so we have 2 equations. P equals 0 is my first equation, and p minus 5 equals 0 is my second. This first equation is already solved, so p equals 0 is one solution. For our second equation, I would add 5 to each side and get p is equal to 5 for our second solution. Now on example 4, you will notice that my equation does not equal 0. And in order to use zero product property, the equation must equal 0. So the first thing that I will do is I'm going to go ahead and move this 27x to the left of my equation, which gives me 9x squared minus 27x equals 0. Now let's factor by finding the GCF. So the greatest common factor of these two terms is 9x. When I divide by 9x, I'm left with x minus 3 for my second factor, equals 0. So my two factors are 9x, so that would equal 0, and x minus 3, so that would equal 0. We'll solve our first equation by dividing by 9, so x equals 0 is my first solution, and then I will add 3 on my second equation to get x equals 3 as my second solution.